That to-do list you wrote this morning, the one that made you feel so organized and in control, here's what's fascinating. It's actually creating psychological barriers that make you procrastinate more and accomplish less. And the longer your list gets, the worse it becomes. Look, I get it. Writing down everything you need to do feels productive. It feels like you're getting your life together. But here's what's actually happening. You're accidentally training your brain to avoid the work that matters most. Today, we're diving into the psychology behind why your to-do list is sabotaging your success. And I'm going to share the research that'll completely change how you think about productivity. And number 7, most people don't realize this decision-making trap is absolutely destroying their focus. Your brain literally shuts down when it sees too many tasks. Here's what's wild. Barry Schwartz's research in The Paradox of Choice revealed something incredible. When people face too many options, their decision-making ability completely tanks. In his jam study replication, people were 10 times more likely to make a purchase when choosing from 6 options versus 24. You know that feeling when you open your Notes app and see 17 different things staring back at you? Your brain sees that massive list and basically says, nope, we're not even going to try. So instead of tackling the important stuff, you end up reorganizing the list, moving things around, or, let's be honest, opening TikTok instead. Schwartz found that excessive choices don't just slow us down, they activate our brain's stress response systems, flooding us with cortisol when we should be taking action. And this is where it gets really interesting. You're literally addicted to crossing off the easy stuff. Robert Sapolsky's book, Behave, explains exactly why this happens. Completing simple tasks triggers dopamine release in the same reward pathways as eating chocolate or getting social media likes. So what do? You unconsciously gravitate toward the quick, meaningless tasks, like reply to that email or organize desk drawer. While the big, important project sits there untouched, your brain becomes addicted to checking off the easy stuff because it feels so good. You feel busy, you feel accomplished, but at the end of the day, nothing that actually moves the needle got done. But wait until you hear what vague tasks are doing to your productivity. Work on presentation is sabotaging your success. Here's what's fascinating. When you write something vague like work on presentation versus create slide outline for Q4 marketing presentation, your brain processes these completely differently. Vague tasks create what psychologists call mental friction because your brain has to spend extra energy figuring out what the task actually means before you can even start. That friction is enough to make you skip it entirely. The more specific you are, the less mental energy it takes to begin. Think about it. Which feels easier to tackle? Exercise or 20-minute walk around the neighborhood? Your brain knows the difference, and this next one, it's making you feel like a failure every single day. Your list is literally training your brain to associate productivity with failure. This connects to something called the Zeigarnik Effect, discovered by psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik in the 1920s. Unfinished tasks create a persistent mental tension that follows you around all day. If you've ever looked at your list and felt that little knot in your stomach, that's your cortisol spiking. When a significant portion of your to-do list items never get completed, you're conditioning your brain to expect disappointment every time you try to be productive. Every time you see those undone items, your stress hormones activate slightly. Over time, this creates a negative association with productivity itself. You start avoiding your own list because subconsciously it makes you feel inadequate. But here's where it gets really interesting. You're burning way more brain fuel by jumping around. Here's something incredible. Sophie Leroy's research on attention residue shows that when your to-do list jumps between different types of tasks like call dentist, finish budget report, buy groceries, review contract, your brain works significantly harder trying to keep up. When you switch from thinking about groceries to thinking about that contract, part of your brain is still stuck on the grocery list. Her studies found that this constant context switching can reduce cognitive performance by up to 25%. People who group similar tasks together report dramatically less mental fatigue at the end of the day. Most people don't realize they're exhausting themselves with their own organization system. Your list exists in a fantasy land where time doesn't matter. Here's something fascinating. Research on the planning fallacy by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky found that most people consistently underestimate how long tasks will take by 20 to 50%. You write clean garage on your list like it's equivalent to send email, but your brain knows better. When you consistently can't finish everything on your list, you start to distrust your own planning abilities. This creates what psychologists call planning anxiety. You become afraid to commit to tasks because you've been let down by your own estimates so many times. The solution? Time blocking. Assign realistic time estimates to everything, and suddenly your list becomes achievable instead of aspirational. But this next mistake, it's the big one that trips up most high achievers. You're creating decision debt without realizing it. This is the big one that most high achievers get wrong. David Allen's research in Getting Things Done shows that while writing things down does free up mental space, most people stop there. They create what productivity researchers call decision debt. A list full of tasks that still require you to figure out what to do, when to do it, and how to prioritize. Every time you look at your list, you're forced to make dozens of micro decisions about what to work on next. These decision points create friction and delay. The most productive people don't just capture tasks, they process them. They decide in advance when something will get done and what the next physical action actually is. And this is where it gets really wild. Your brain treats your to-do list like a collection of physical injuries. UCLA neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman discovered that unfinished tasks activate the same brain regions as physical pain, specifically the anterior cingulate cortex and right ventral prefrontal cortex. When you have 20 items on your to-do list, your nervous system is literally responding as if you have 20 small injuries that need attention. This is why looking at a long list can make your chest feel tight or your shoulders tense up. Your brain is trying to protect you from what it perceives as threats to your survival. People who keep their daily lists to 5 items or fewer show significantly lower cortisol levels throughout the day. You're falling victim to the planning fallacy every single day. Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman identified this cognitive bias where we consistently overestimate what we can accomplish in a given time frame. His research showed people underestimate completion times by an average of 27%. But here's what's really interesting. Even when people know about the planning fallacy, they still do it. A 2019 study in the Journal of Experimental Psychology found that people who were explicitly told about this bias still overestimated their daily capacity by 35%. Your brain is wired to be optimistic about future performance while being realistic about past performance, so you keep making lists that are impossible to complete, which reinforces that feeling of constant failure. The way you organize your list is training you to procrastinate. Behavioral economist Dan Ariely's research found that people who write tasks in order of urgency are significantly more likely to procrastinate than people who organize by energy level or context. When your list starts with the hardest, most important thing, your brain sees it as a mountain to climb before you can get to anything else. This creates what researchers call activation energy, the mental effort required to start. Most people avoid the hard thing and scroll down to find something easier, which trains your brain that avoidance is an acceptable strategy. The most productive people organize their lists by when and where they'll do things, not by importance. So there you have it, 10 ways your innocent to-do list is actually sabotaging your productivity. The biggest game changer? Stop treating your list like a memory dump and start treating it like a decision-making tool. If number 7 hit home, that decision debt trap, you're going to love our next video on the 2-minute rule that productivity experts use to eliminate 80% of their mental clutter. It's a simple technique that'll transform how you process everything that comes your way. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it, and let me know in the comments, which of these list mistakes have you been making? I read every single comment, and your insights help me create better content for all of us.